Hey everybody, Jason here. I've been wanting to kind of finish up the review that I started shooting a really long time ago on my Kyosho MP9e TKI, but it's a lot of work and I really want to do a good job, and it's going to be a long video, 30 or 40 minutes, because it's going to have a lot of running footage and stuff. So I figured for a quick video for today, I would do a comparison video. And so here's what I have. I have my Kyosho MP9e, and I have my good buddy Brandon's sweetly painted TEKNO Eb48.2. And Brandon had been running an SCT410 from TEKNO for a while, and I convinced him to buy the Eb48.2 to run e-buggy. He wanted to convert the short course truck before it was like all the rage, like they're doing now. So he bought this, and he's actually running inside this buggy. He's actually running. I don't know how well you guys can see, but that's 2S, and indoor on our little track, that's 85 by 50 or so. He beat me with it last week, unfortunately. I'm not happy to tell you that, but I don't like to lose, but he drove better and his car handled better. That's just all there is to it. Now, I do have excuses like everybody that loses. My diff oil was probably not exactly correct. The shock oil and the Kyosho was way heavy because I had ran it in a blue groove situation. It doesn't matter. The truth is, the bottom line is his TEKNO is really good. The Kyosho normally is really good. I'm running some AKA handlebars, and I think they're like out of the first batch, and they do not hook up whatsoever. But overall, both of these cars are great cars. So I thought I'd just share some of the things I like about both cars, let you know where I stand. I have actually owned an EB48, and really, while I was really impressed with the way the car handled on the track, I was not impressed with there were little things in the kit that just bothered me. Like, it didn't come with an aluminum drive shaft, which it does now. That was really the only thing that bothered me. The motor mount could have been a little bit better, but now they've updated the kit a lot. The shock package seal setup is quite a bit different. They've spiral cut some of the gears. I think the gear cases have changed. The car comes with the aluminum drive shaft. It just comes with a bunch of upgrades and aluminum stuff. And to be honest with you, it's probably the best bang for the buck on the market by a long shot. And there are a lot of e-buggies out there. You know, the new Losi 3.0 and the Mugen MBX7, and there's a lot of buggies out there. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to two buggies for me personally. The Kyosho or the TEKNO. And I'm not going to try to bash on all these other buggies because they're all good in their own way. But the associated buggy, it's years behind in development. The shocks just clearly aren't that good. I mean, when you look in the magazines and guys that are winning big events or competing at big events are using Kyosho shocks, it tells you there has to be a deficiency somewhere, and it's probably in the shocks. At least maybe that's the biggest one. The thing that kind of kills me is the two biggest companies, Associated and Losi. If I had to run one buggy or the other, it would clearly be the Losi. The downside I've owned almost all these e-buggies, not the Mugens. The downside with the Losi stuff is, as nice of a product as it is and as nice as it drives when you get it hooked up and set up the way you want, it just doesn't wear very well. I mean, just after a month or two, you'll start noticing some serious wear on your out drives, and that stuff costs money to maintain. So while I think the Losi is a good product, it's just still not on par with the Kyosho. And ironically, this TEKNO buggy wears probably even less than the Kyosho. So here's, I will show you some running footage of both of these buggies, indoor and out, in just a few seconds. But before I do, let me just tell you a little bit about my MP9e, and you guys can, just make a decision for yourself if you decide to buy one of these. So the Kyosho is like the winningest platform ever. It's like, this thing has just won more world championships than all the other buggies combined, as far as I know. This is the new body shell. My buddy says that it looks like a little fat guy running around the track, and he's probably right, but I like it. I don't care. The thing that sucks about the Kyosho body, though, is it's like paper. In fact, this one has just been beat down so many times. It is just, it's just destroyed. But anyways, so here is the buggy as I run it. I've got an Tiken RX-8 Gen 2 Speedo, a 1900 kV motor. I normally run a 15 tooth pinion. This is a 16, but let me show you something cool that I did here recently. If you look at the diff right there, see that right there? It's actually got a plastic diff gear on it and a small diff case. So with this car, it comes with a steel spur gear, and it sounds like a coffee grinder. I mean, I've heard some people say that their cars aren't that loud, but this one was just ridiculous. So what you can do is you can use a front or rear diff case. It's the same case, and you can order this spur gear. I think it's from like an Inferno VE. It's still a 46 tooth spur gear, and you just take the internals, put them in there, and rock and roll. I will say this, it is amazing at how much smoother and quieter this buggy is with this spur gear. The downside to using the spur gear is that you don't get to use the larger center diff case, which basically allows for more capacity for diff oil. If you were running this buggy for 40 minutes, I would say, yeah, you probably need that really big diff case, as in like the nitro applications. But when you're only running for 6 to 10 minutes, this little center diff is just fine. So especially if you run indoor, do yourself a favor, spend like the $6 on the spur gear and the $7 on the diff case, and put a small center diff in this sucker with this plastic gear, and you'll not be disappointed. Warning, there are a couple guys out there that are making that's like a white Delrin plastic gear for the big diff case, and you'll destroy it. You'll rip teeth off of it. You'll land one jump on the brake or one jump on power, and it'll rip teeth right off of it. I don't know if it's the material or the fact that it's just so thin in order to fit, but this setup works good. I would not try to use a plastic gear with the large diff case that comes with the buggy. It just isn't going to happen. It's kind of a heartbreaker. When I first bought this buggy, it was beautiful. The shocks were like jewelry. It was just awesome to just look at. So I went down to the Proline Duel, which is basically a 2-day race where they run the first day on the Proline test track and the second day at Thunder Alley. The buggy was basically brand new. It had a few laps indoor on it, and it was still beautiful, like I said. Unfortunately, it wasn't beautiful when I brought it home. Just the big tracks, especially when they have the really abrasive surfaces and they get dry. But as bad as it wasn't that bad. Well, a buddy of mine convinced me to go down to the last round of the JBRL at Hot Rod Hobbies, where they run it all grooved up, blue groove, very dry, very hard. It's almost like pavement. And I had a great time. I ended up finishing 4th in e-buggy behind guys like Adam Drake and Truey and a couple other guys, Marty Korn. I had a great run, had a great time, and luckily I had some help from some of the Kyosho guys there. But unfortunately, it just murdered the buggy. And if you look, I hate to even show you guys this because it bums me out. But this is the chassis. I mean, this car basically has 3 race days on it. And I'm running the DE front skid and DE rear skid, but either way you can see the chassis has just taken an absolute beat down. Now what's even worse is that the shocks that used to look like jewelry, they are just absolutely beat up and scratched up, and the shock towers are rough, and it's just a bummer. You spend all this money on these cars and you just want them to look good and last, and while I had a ton of fun, which you'll see here in a second, it was really hard on the car. Overall, I would say the Kyosho is a great buggy. It's a little bit pricey. I think most of the websites sell it for about $759 or $760, which isn't terribly unfair, but that's a lot of money. And as far as durability goes, it's a durable buggy, as is probably any 8-scale buggy. But I personally felt like my TEKNO was a little bit more durable. Now, I didn't have the chance to race the TEKNO outdoor the way I have with the Kyosho, so I really can't compare them there. I did drive a TEKNO while I was down at Thunder Alley, and it was absolutely hooked up. But neither one of the tracks were terribly blown out. They definitely, they were developing some ruts in a few spots, but overall they were groomed well, watered, and just good tracks. Brandon, on the other hand, had me assemble this for him, and he's got some guy. I'll give a shout out to Abe Monkey Paints. No one asked me to do that, but since this is such a sweet body, I figured I'd show you. And that's who paints Brandon's stuff. And I think he's in Visalia, or I don't know. I think he races up near Exeter or something like that. I'm really not sure, but he does a good job painting. So Brandon, with this buggy, he's running gold barcodes, and as everybody knows, I mean, you can't go wrong with gold barcodes on an indoor clay surface most of the time. Something that's kind of interesting that a lot of people don't talk about is he's running the bigger rib, this rib here, out in the rear. But if you do the same thing, if you look at the same one in the front, he's running the big bar on the inside. So yeah, I'm not really sure why he chose to do that. He claims he read something online. You know, who knows? I would just glue them all up the same way if it were me. But the one thing, man, he's got a rat's nest going on in here. I hope you watch this, Brandon. You know, you need to make your electronics look better than that next time. I mean, come on, man. Epic fail. But this buggy is really good. In fact, it actually has a little bit too much steering with the Kyosho oranges on it. So he wants to put a Kyosho yellow spring on the rear. He's got the nice carbon fiber shock towers on this. And to be completely honest with you, after owning the Kyosho for 6 months or so now, as much as I like the buggy, I'm seriously considering going back to a TEKNO, especially now that they've updated the kit. Now that it's got a better shock package, like better shock seals, it comes with the aluminum drive shaft, the spiral cut diff gears, the updated diff cases. I really like it. And so this isn't like for sure, but I'll probably go back to a TEKNO. Overall, it's a good car. You don't really break that much in any of these cars. So just my personal opinion. I like the Kyosho, but if you tear up any of the aluminum stuff in the Kyosho, it's not cheap. There is a guy on eBay, however, that sells stuff, and I'll show you a quick picture of his stuff. And you can get that stuff on eBay for like 13 bucks and 13 or 14 bucks. You can get almost all the aluminum parts that Kyosho makes from this guy on eBay, and he sells them really inexpensively because let's just face it, 30 or 40 bucks for a piece of, for an aluminum arm mount and stuff, that's getting out of hand, you know, just is what it is. So, you know, both great buggies. I love my Kyosho. I don't know if I'm gonna get rid of it anytime soon, but if I do, the only car I'd probably even consider is a TEKNO at this point. It's just, they work good, they're durable, parts are relatively cheap. They've got the short course truck, which shares some, you know, some parts back and forth, you know, between that and the e-buggy. They've got a lightweight e-buggy kit where you can just take your short course truck and convert it to an e-buggy, which is pretty cool. So overall, really good cars. I guess I've said what I wanted to say. Hope you guys like this video. If you have questions and stuff about the Kyosho or about the TEKNO or whatever, please shoot them on down here below the video or in RC Tech or wherever you see this video at, and we'll talk about it. Thanks for watching.
All right, 4 minutes down, 6 to go. The TEKNO boys still doing battle for second. Walter and Lewis, the 1 and the 6, separated by half a second. And looks like Chris Miller going upside down there. Trying to do battle with those TEKNO boys. Chris Miller running in that 4th spot. And the battle for 5th, Perez and Jason Miller. Oh, there comes Eric McNeil up to 7th. Oh, he got by Lerone. Lerone in 8th. Chatney and 9th. Snyder, Rory, Leonard rounding out the field.
Drivers on sound that come. Starting out front, Walden in the first 2 spots. Waiting at one, wheeled into the first 2.5 minutes. Walden makes a nice move to the inside. He's driving that's Weston driving Walden's part for the first 2.5 minutes. Hammers on the back.
following my line. Yeah, we did.
Out front, 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Or 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Go.
Yeah!